Okay, I'm not sure if it's going to pick me up or not, because as I say, it's 15 feet that way. I thought tonight, after watching Julian's video last night, we were talking about vlogging and, you know, if he thought he was vlogging right or if he's not vlogging right. I'll go back over my history for you. I started a blog back around about the early 1990s. That was a blog, and that was called Skyroad to Mercury, and that was basically when my father died in 1988. I was sitting on the bottom of my driveway, which was like that angle up to the house where he died, and Mercury came over the top of the house that night, and I thought, that's like a road, a sky road to Mercury. Anyway, a bit of personal information for you. So I started the vlog, which I've had off and on Wordpress sometimes. Blogging was pretty popular back in the 90s and early 2000s. You know, we went from writing diaries and then we converted into blogging, basically. And, you know, diaries in the 1980s. Everything evolves, Julia, and I mean this nicely. The main thing to think about is I think there's been about three generations of evolution of vlogging. If you go back to the early 2005, 2006, they would basically start their vlogs, let's make a coffee, let's do the toast, you know, let's put the makeup on, they show themselves in the bathroom and things like that. That style of vlogging was like a whole daily vlog. But that's okay, you can still do that. Then once YouTube got a bit more popular, they started talking about, oh look, I've got this product to talk about today. You know, thank you to XYZ for giving it to me. And the vlogs started to focus more on product placement. Speaking of which, you know, I've got my skeleton over here, I've got a broom back here, I've got dry black flowers over there and a million lights over there to start a lighthouse. You know, if a plane crashes behind me at the moment, you won't know it. So, vlogging evolved into very money central, and I know YouTube's about making money, I'm not stupid, and I know none of you guys are stupid. I think we've just gone past our third edition of the evolution, and I think we're heading into a fourth evolution. Now the third one was we started to get a bit more retro, and this started about 2 years ago, and Chris Meets Chris, you know, he kicked it off. Well, when I found him in April, he was already well and truly doing it. Back to almost vlogging like it was 2008 again, you know, like it was like 20 years ago kind of thing. Just daily vlogs started coming back up. Now, I'm not going to talk about personality types tonight, I might make a video on that, but there's two names from Mount Sinai Hospital for your personalities. One's omnivert and one's ultravert, depending upon which one you look up on YouTube, but they're both the same. I identified as a flaneur, which is a 200-year-old French word. Either way, my personality type is I like to walk dead down the middle. I'm not an introvert, I'm not an extrovert, and I'm not an ambivert. An ambivert has to have a little bit of both. Okay, table's wobbling on its own. It's Halloween. So I'm not an ultravert, I'm an ultravert or an omnivert, depending on how you want to, which doctor at Mount Sinai you listen to. And all they do is they're perfectly happy on their own, but if they get into a group of introverts, they will listen. If they get into a group of extroverts, they will listen. They being me. And the only time I'll speak up when I'm in a group is when somebody else is on an intellectual par with me. Now, I'm not being arrogant or anything here, but when they have some sort of interest that stimulates me intellectually. Otherwise, I will be standing on the edge and listening to them, which is what a flaneur does, by the way. The flaneur always stands on the edge and studies people. And that's what I do, I study the people. And if they have a really good point, or I think I can make a good point that matches their point, I speak up. And I'm just as happy to sit in a room full of introverts, you know, hiding behind their books and chill with them. An omnivert recharges by staying away from both groups. You know, we have to have time on our own where we can focus our thoughts and talk to ourselves. We're very good at talking to ourselves. Now, that's not a step of insanity, but I do think, and now I'm not alone on this, you've got Nicholas Hornbrook, you've got Ash Files, but there's a few more I know on there who now prefer to vlog by using a voice tracer, or they call this a voice tracer, but I always call it a voice recorder because that's what we used back in the 80s. 1980s we used to have voice recorders basically, you know, when you were taking notes in offices. So I think we're now evolving past the need to dominate our channel with either type of vlogging, you know, talking heads or narrative vlogs. And I think as an omnivert, I'm quite happy to sit there and talk to myself. When I've got 30 minutes on my own, I'll read my script and I'll narrate it. I also voice train with this. Now, I can do a really long video of voice training, but it's quite simple. You write out a script, count out 60 words, the first 60 words. Then turn on a voice recorder, mobile phone's just as good, something where you can see the time anyway, and record yourself speaking those 60 words in that 1 minute. And trust me, you'll have to slow down and compose your speech. If you've got 115 words, time yourself for a minute to a minute 30 for 115, but you can do it in a minute. Time yourself talking 115 words in a minute. This is where the bit comes into it, that if you watch any of my narrative vlogs, you'll understand this by now. I set my word limit to about 115 minutes, 115 words to be read between 1.5 minutes and 3 minutes. So I watch this thing while I'm talking. I'm reading my script, which, you know, I have my script on my phones. I actually have them on my iPhone, not on my Google phone. But I have it on my iPad and my iPhone and my iMac, right? So I type it up on a typewriter, and then I retype my script into the iMac. And then I start working on it from there. And what I usually do with that script is I put it into ChatGPT and I say, I'm going to use this script. Now cut the script into 60 words per minute. And ChatGPT, I don't know what the pronoun is for ChatGPT, but I always call it a she. What she does is she blocks it out as 60 words per minute for me. It doesn't change what I'm going to say. It's exactly what I've typed out on the typewriter, but gives me the blocks. And then I'll narrate it. And if it doesn't quite sound the right pace or the right tone, I'll go back into ChatGPT and I'll say, let's space it out to 90 words over 90 seconds. A word a second. It's a lot faster. But you get what I mean. This is where I think vlogging's going. So I'll get back to the point. I think people are a bit over watching talking heads every day. I can see it on my view counts on this. I can see it on the retention rate of my talking head videos. My talking head videos don't have the retention rate. They have a good retention rate, but they don't have the same retention rate as my narrative videos. But my talking head videos are still getting more views than my narrative videos. So I think you need to have a balance. And I think the fourth evolution of YouTube is some days you're walking through the street of Chicago, as Julian does. Other days you're sitting at home talking to your mum and dad. But when you're at the gym, how about you just narrate your time at the gym when you get home? So record, but when you get home, narrate what was going through your mind. Don't have to script it, just narrate it. Try some narration videos. It gives me so much fun, and I'm serious with this. I take in the camera that will film me on now. Don't know why I'm looking here for it, it's over there. And I shoot with this Olympus EM1 Mark II. No excuses for it. Mirrorless cameras. And I love DSLRs. I have a bunch of them. But mirrorless cameras, and ask JD. You know, he shoots with Sony mirrorless. They shoot better videos. The Olympus is one of the best. Panasonic have got a GH something or other. I think it's GH5, but don't quote me, which is on par with this. And then pretty much any Sony mirrorless camera can almost, you know, beat an Olympus camera. Sony make really good video cameras. But this camera does what I need. I don't need flashy crap here. I don't need text. I don't mind text. Sometimes it's humorous. Like, I love how Russ uses text. But for my personality, it doesn't work. So my point is, try and do 50% just for Julian, and anybody else who wants to jump in. I'm talking to you, Julian. I don't know if you're back on the planet yet, or if what you're doing. Try and make every second vlog a narrated vlog, so a narrative. And when you've got 5 minutes sitting at home, don't pick up your Xbox or your PlayStation. I don't know if you've got one, but you know what I mean. Don't chill out on a computer game. Get intellectual. Get on your computer. I carry an exercise book, a notebook around with me everywhere I go. And I picked that up from another vlogger on here, Drew. I was only ever using my iPhone, and he said in one of his videos, he carries a notepad, and I'll put his video down the bottom because he's gone really quiet. 2 videos in nearly 3 months. Burnout's common for vloggers, and it's because you run out of ideas to sit in front of a camera and talk about. If you're an introvert, you run out a lot quicker. If you're an extrovert, I still think you run out of ideas because you don't want to sit still. You want to keep going, you know, and you burn out quicker. Omniverts or ultraverts will keep going. We're the Duracell bunny, you know, stick 2 batteries in us and we'll go all day. And I can talk all day and I can be quiet all day. I have a job where I'm sitting in a train, and for 6 hours a day, I don't talk to a living soul. I stare out a window. You're not allowed to use your phone, and you're not allowed to have an AM, FM, CD player. You can't have headphones on. You've got to stare out a window. And that's what I do. That's my chill time. That's my recharge time. So Julian, narrate a video and write down a script. Make it 1 minute. It really does not have to be any longer than that. You know, my narrative videos at the moment are running between 3 minutes and 8 minutes. I can make one for 1 minute, but make a 1 minute video. Shoot some B-roll around the place that you're not actually physically in. You know, take a photo, a video, either. Walk to work from the railway station in Chicago and turn the camera not on you, because I know you've got a Sony, okay, so, you know, put away this fixed focus DJI that you're using. Just use your Sony, walk to work, stop every now and then, shoot 8 seconds here, 8 seconds there, 8 seconds here, 8 seconds there. You get the picture here, you know. Get yourself up to around a minute of footage. And then narrate what's on your mind, not what's on your footage. You understand what I mean there? So I want to do a video at the moment, and I'm writing the script up for it, and I'm getting kind of support from my wife on it because she thinks I'm hilarious for doing it. I want to write a video about men living with menopause. Me and my wife have been married 25 years in January, and she's been going through, you know, this midlife problem that women get for the last few years. Needless to say, the mood swings, the hormones, are not something that men are used to having to deal with. And I could write a list up of 100 people probably, you know, at least 5 that I know of in the last 2 months, of men around 45 to 55 that have got divorced or walked out of the relationship. And it's not because they've stopped loving the person, it's because they haven't adapted to menopause. Whereas my personality type, I've adapted, I've learned to deal with it, and I've got to the point now where I'm actually taking, you know, Wegovy, which is basically a hormone stimulant. You know, it emulates GLP hormones. So I joke with my wife lately that, look, for the last 2 months, I'm the one on hormones, not you. So I want to make a narrative vlog about that. Now, the last thing I want to do is film menopausal women in the city, or my wife. I want to just take random video of my city. You know, there's 5 million people living in the state that I live in. Any one time there's a few 100,000 people on a couple of these main streets. You know, it's a busy city. So Melbourne is busy. I don't know what the population of Chicago is, but Melbourne's population goes up and down. You know, it's it's a city where I can take, I call it B-roll, but you can call it A-roll, whatever you want to call it. I can make up 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. I record 40 minutes a day doing this at the moment, so I could easily put 8 minutes into a video. So that's what I want to do, a narrative video on dealing with, hormonal women. So Julian, I'm sure there is something, I know you're talking, sorry about that. I know you're talking about being Puerto Rican in Chicago and the political pressure that's on you at the moment and how nervous it's making you. How about you write your feelings down on a piece of paper and narrate that on a video? That's my challenge to you anyway. I know this video has sort of all been about one person, but his video yesterday, that I watched it last night, was distressing. I thought he'd actually progressed back to the Julian I knew 4 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, when he was really nervous in public. And he got over those nerves, and now that he's getting hounded because of his race, it's... I feel sorry for you guys over there. I mean, we live in a country here where we have reverse apartheid, but we don't have people rounding you up and throwing you out. We're the other way around, Send us your refugees. We take in hundreds of thousands of them every year. So people keep coming here, We're an empty country. 25 million living in a country the same size as America. What do you got, 350, 400 million, something like that? Our countries are the same size, but we're empty. So that's my challenge to Julian. Now let's get back to narrative. This could be an absolutely epic long vlog, I know. So the third vlogging evolution was quite simple. People were trying to emulate the first one, but they were using action cameras now, not... their mobile phones the cell phones were originally what people were recording their vlogs on. Now they were recording them on action cameras. I think you've got to get past the action cameras because they're fixed focus, a lot of them. I don't know if they all are, but everyone I've looked at is fixed focus. This thing is on continuous autofocus, If I duck and weave, it does sometimes pick up my hand. Sony will have eye track, but this thing, I'm not sure if it's got it. And I try and stay in front of my props, otherwise my camera will swing backwards and forwards on the focus. I learnt this by talking heads out here in the backyard. I think the evolution now is not necessarily get rid of your DJI cameras, because we know DJI bring out a camera every 6 months because they think we're consumer diehards. I think we've all got gas and we're all suckers for a new product. And that's another video that's coming up, why I buy old products and new products. But start trying to use your mobile phone again. If you don't have a voice recorder, you pick these up for $100, okay? This is 200 Australian dollars, so you'll get this for around $100, and you can get far cheaper versions of Philips. And you can use Olympus, you can use Sony, I think Nikon, I've got one as well. You can use just about every company that makes cameras makes a voice recorder, so you don't have to use this swanky, it's just about top of the line for Philips, and it still didn't cost a lot. And it's not on, by the way, I've got it turned off. You don't have to use an expensive voice recorder. Your mobile will record audio. I find audio on my mobile is a little dodgy. I plug a Boya mic into my mobile if I'm going to record on my mobile, and that once again is a 90 Australian dollar microphone. It works straight up. It only works on my mobile. It doesn't work on anything else. So I use a Boya mini mic on that. And that's what got me into the voice recorder. I did about 3 months of talking to myself and just trying to help my mental health by talking to myself each day. So doing a diary on my phone by talking to my phone and telling my phone what I'm thinking about the world at the moment. And that evolved into the voice recorder, which has evolved into the narrative. Maybe I'm a lone wolf. And I watched a lone wolf video tonight. A lot of omniverts become lone wolf vloggers, is what I've noticed. We have ideas that don't necessarily conform to mainstream, and we walk our own path, so mainstream doesn't necessarily keep up with our thinking. But try that anyway. I'm not going to talk much more, I'm just going to leave that there because I think I might have got around circles a few times. My point to anybody else who's watching this other than Julian, and you're a vlogger, try and do just narration, even if you don't put it on YouTube for a while. Just practice talking to yourself on a voice recorder and You'll learn a few tips with them. You know, they are supposed to stay 50 centimetres away from you, which if you're short, it is tricky. This one comes with a tripod mount, so I often just mount it on a tripod and I sit at the end of my desk and it sits, I measured it out at 60 centimetres away. It's got 3 microphones, 360 degree coverage, or I can put it on Zoom microphone, which is straight at my mouth. Either way, just narrate a video any way you can. Put up any sort of footage you can. I mean, I've made narrative videos where I have put up, I've made one the other day which I haven't put up yet. It's 30 minutes long, and I'm nervous to put it up, so I probably won't put it up. But I made 30 minutes of me walking around the city just with the Pocket 2 in my hand, and I just filmed with the Pocket 2. And when I walk with the Pocket 2, I hold it here, and I just walk, and people don't notice it because I don't look what it's looking at. I know it's focused in front of me. And I had the Olympus camera in my hand, snapping. Olympus or no? I actually had the Canon. I had the Canon 16 in my hand, 16 Mark II, and I was snapping photos without testing the lens out. Anyway, that'll do. I think I made my point. Try and make more narrative videos and less face-to-face videos. You know, less talking heads, bobbleheads as I like to call it. Isn't that right, buddy? Just try and do one at least and see how you feel. Practice talking, because it will take... I know when I do bobbleheads, I'm speaking really quickly. And I've noticed that when I do narrative, I get my radio voice on. I have worked on radio. I get my radio voice on. And that's all you got to do. Just slow your speaking down, talk. You've got a piece of paper in front of you, you've got an iPhone, you've got an iPad, you've got a computer screen. I don't recommend using the computer screen. Computers emit a hum, and the hum can be picked up on recorders, and it's just a low hum. I've turned the noise filter on this one if I'm going to sit anywhere near my Mac, because my Mac puts a hum in the background. It's a very low hum, but I can hear it, I notice it. So use a phone or use a piece of paper, narrate a video, tag me in it when you've narrated it so I can listen to it. And meanwhile, no idea how long this is, but stay safe, people. Have fun. Tomorrow is Halloween. Hang on. In 2 hours and 10 minutes, it's midnight. So 2 hours and 10 minutes is Halloween, but tomorrow it's Halloween. We've got the Melbourne Cup on, which is a horse race. If you don't know what it is, you're not into horse racing, because it's big in America, it's big in Europe, it's big everywhere where there's horses. They come over here to try and win. It's a really big sweepstake. So I've got to do some vlogs towards horse racing, and I don't like horse racing. But tomorrow I've got to do a vlog on Halloween. I haven't got much to talk about yet, but I'm going to do a narrative vlog on it. And then I'm going to sit down for the next 2 hours and type up a script and try and do what normally takes me 3 days in 2 hours. Wish me luck. Anyway, as I said, stay safe.